the most accomplished and inspiring speakers that ignite invaluable knowledge sparks to spread the light of continuous learning and development among educators, teachers, administrators, students, and parents. RRIS is delighted to host you on this delightful journey by facilitating this platform as our way of giving back to the community and stakeholders that keep us motivated. And of all things, we expect just one thing from you to share this light of knowledge with your friends, family, peers, and your network. Do invite them to register for these sessions or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ramratna International School Official. Thank you for joining in today, and we look forward to an inspiring session. Onward we go, forward we march. Best wishes from Ramratna International School.
Hello, Namaste, Margaret ma'am. This is Jaya here.
Hello, namaste.
Hello, how are you doing, ma'am?
Good, good. I believe you're in Japan.
Oh, yes. And I'm currently in the bullet train. Incidentally, your talk coincided on this day when I'm finding it difficult to remain on connectivity. I'm sorry if the connection drops, but it's a great pleasure and privilege and honor to have you as an Aadharshila speaker. Today, our Vice Principal, Mr. Manish, would be in the session. And with your permission, we'll begin sharp at 3:30 Indian Standard Time. Once again, I wanted to thank you on behalf of Ramratna International School family for this invite.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's exciting to be on
Mr.
board.
Manish can begin sharp.
And I know Dilip. I just want to say big
Welcome
hello
to
to
all
Dilip.
the participants of the. This is the ninth Aadharshila Talks.
Hi, Margaret. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely to see you. I'm just. I might be able to send you that link. Should I try?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's see if we can do this. Okay.
Yeah, I will show you one second.
Thank you.
So, Namaste, Miss Margaret. Can we start?
In September launches the largest endeavor to help rid our oceans of 5 trillion pieces of plastic, led by...
Hope now it's audible, ma'am.
Sorry?
Now the video of the audio was audible, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's start. Namaste, my dear RRIS science. I am the speaker for today's session. I am Mr. Manish Hegde, the Vice Principal of Ramratna International School. Welcome our guest speaker of today's 99th Aadharshila talk with a positive statement told by our speaker herself. Education today is our society tomorrow. Once again, I repeat, education today is our society tomorrow. Today's session will focus on how teachers can help make positive changes in our world and help students understand how we can co-create a better future. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's session, who is the founder of the Education Initiative, the Gandhi Experiment. She is also the Executive Officer of Initiatives of Change Australia. She is Miss Margaret Hepworth. I request all participants to open their mic and welcome our guest with a round of applause.
Welcome, Margaret ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Mm,
Miss Margaret,
yes.
Miss Margaret has a background of over 30 years in education, a thought leader and founder of the Peace Education Initiative, the Gandhi experiment, teaching non-violence as a conscious choice to students and teachers. She is the former head of campus, assistant principal at Preshil School, Berry Street School, and head of house at Caulfield Grammar in Victoria. She has taken her work in global citizenship, global humanity across India and Australia, and into Pakistan, Indonesia, China, and Fiji. Miss Margaret has the experience in collegial team building, public speaking, networking, and course creation. She has created the innovative and progressive methodologies of positive reality and collaborating debating. She is the author of the books The Gandhi Experiment, Teaching Our Teenagers How to Become Global Citizens, Collaborative Debating, and Clarity in Time. Miss Margaret is the recipient of the Sir John Monash Award for Inspirational Women's Leadership 2016 and the IABC Community Achievement Excellence Award 2019 and the Gloria D'Souza International Excellence Award Best Educator 2020. Now, I must give a pause and give the platform to our eminent personality, requesting Miss Margaret to carry forward this session.
Oh, thank you. Namaste, everyone. Thank
Namaste.
you for the beautiful introduction. I'm absolutely thrilled to be with you all and to be invited to speak with you today. I have traveled across India many times and worked with Indian educators, specifically in the amazing group called Education Today, Society Tomorrow, who belong to the movement Initiatives of Change. And Dilip Patel is in that group and he's here with us today. So I'm thrilled to see you, Dilip. Please, we're going to focus in on a specific area today. Our focus is on the effects of positivity, hope, and optimism when we bring these things to our students. So we're just focusing on one particular area, but I would love for you to put questions in the chat. I'd love for you to raise your hand and ask me questions as we go, not just me talking constantly. I do want to begin by saying Woman Jeka. So where you say namaste, and in English in Australia, we might say, hello, how are you? Woman Jeka is welcome. It is in the language of the traditional custodians of the land where I live and work. So these are the First Nations people of this country. And if you might know them as the Aboriginal people of this country. And why this is so important that I share this with you is because there is such a positive movement now in Australia to support our First Nations elders and leaders. And this, in my eyes, is full of positivity, hope, and optimism. So I'm going to actually cast you into a bit of a world of negativity. And I'm really curious to know, where you think the mind of the world is at the moment, right? So let's look at the state of the world. So for the past 2.5 years or more, the world has been cast into a state of upheaval, a state of doom and gloom, and it seems to have grown heavier and heavier. So this is stemming from a growing pessimism around a lack of real climate action. And then, of course, we all moved, the whole world moved into the COVID years. And many of us, and I know you have too, have suffered through these years and have been under lockdown. It's really changed our lives. And right now we have several wars and conflicts across the globe, and perhaps particularly the war on Ukraine. So for Australia, we've had, and you would have heard about this, massive bushfires and enormous floods, and they have exacerbated this sense of heaviness and crisis. And why on earth am I beginning a talk about positivity and hope and optimism with such kind of doom and gloom beginning? The fact is that all of those things I've just talked about have had a serious impact on all of us, and in particular our young people. I'm not sure in India, but I know here the statistics on mental health issues are now absolutely skyrocketing here. But it's not just our young people, it's on all of us, and perhaps in ways that we're not seeing or recognizing yet. So affecting us individually and collectively as societies, our mental health, our behavior, our decision-making around choices in life, and our sense of our future. So just recently, Australia went to a federal election, and we could see through this federal election that the people of the country were demanding change. They've had enough of this heaviness, enough of the negativity, and they want to see inspiring leaders. They want to see leaders who are taking action and really making a difference to change all of those things that I just spoke about. So this is really important, right? So what was this federal election showing us? We believe that it was focusing on ethical leadership, on trust building and peace building for sustainable futures. These things are cornerstones and building blocks of the solutions of all of these issues worldwide. But you know what's really interesting as teachers? These are not subjects in classrooms. We teach maths, we teach history, we teach science. We don't have a subject called ethical leadership or leadership with integrity or how to build trust between people that don't get on with each other or peace building. So what I'm asking you just to stop and think about is, in your work, in your schools, or even if you're not a teacher, in your workplace, how do you bring those things into your workplace or into your classrooms? How do you bring ethical leadership into everything that you teach? How do you bring trust into everything you teach, or peace building? So we are talking here in Australia about awakening our nation to these very things. So let's begin with this idea of global leadership, or global citizenship, global citizenship. And I really would ask you, first of all, what's your definition of global citizenship? What do you think that means? And secondly, why would we be focusing on global citizenship? Does anyone want to either unmute themselves and share an answer or put an answer into the chat? So I'll say it again. What is a definition? What does it mean, global citizenship? And why would we want to be discussing this or teaching this concept to our children? Anybody going to share? I love working with adults. Kids always answer straight away. They answer like this, boom, boom, boom. Is anyone prepared to give me an answer? Here we go. Thank you, Gregory. We are all interconnected in all aspects. What a great answer. Right? It's a huge concept that across the world, we are all interconnected in all aspects. And Rainey's written, it's respecting other cultures, people from different ethnicity, and mainly it is to reduce conflict. I love it. Why on earth, it might sound a silly question, but why would we be wanting to even teach these things to our students? Why would we want that to be a concept they should think about? I guess if you look at Rainey's answer, it is saying if we teach this, we will gain respect, right? We will gain, we will reduce conflict. And I love that they're the future citizens and the decision makers. Gregory, the question was why? Why would we want to teach this concept to our students? Please do ask me if my accent is a bit strong or if I speak too quickly. Please definitely do ask me. So Gregory, well done.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Maybe to make our planet more peaceful and sustainable.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely. And okay, so what you've just shared with us to make our planet more peaceful and more sustainable, right? The point is that we have global issues, all right? COVID is a global issue. Climate change is a global issue. We have problems within our own countries. We have problems very locally, but we have problems that are global. So we have to teach global citizenship, right? To solve those problems together. So let's have a look. This is a quick question. I'm not going to go through this at any length, but I do ask this to students. What does it mean to be a leader? And it turns out a much better question because people say, oh, a leader's up the top of the heap. You know, that's the prime minister, that's the president, that's the CEO of a company. But a much better question is, where do you show up as a leader? At school, at home, in my community, for my country, and then finally, do you demonstrate yourself to be a global citizen? This has everything to do with the ethical leadership, the deeply honest leadership that we are looking for across the world right now. So this is a definition of a global citizen. So rather than seeing oneself as a citizen of a single country or place, a global citizen sees their identity as transcending borders of politics, geography, and I love this last bit, operating as a member of humanity and not just a single nationality. Right? That's a beautiful, beautiful concept. So what we're going to look at is 3 different ways that we can teach our students to take mindful action. Right? Now, what might I mean by mindful action? Why am I not just saying, let's teach our students to take action? Because, of course, action can actually be negative. And sometimes when we take action too quickly, we're actually just simply reacting to something. Mindful action makes sure that we're stopping, we're slowing down, we're considering. We might stop, we might meditate, we might take some quiet time to give thought to what it is that we want to do. Now,
Miss Margaret, you are in mute.
How did at what point did I become mute? Okay, I was just saying that why mindful action, right? Did you hear that part? Yeah. So, and here, Gregory's written here, it's better to respond wisely than to react thoughtlessly. Gregory, you're spot on. And somebody else has written, a leader is someone who lets others grow while leading. These are beautiful, beautiful concepts. So we're going to look at 3 ways we can take mindful action. And one of these is a phrase called positive reality. All right, so positive reality, we're going to go through this together. And I really do want you to ask me lots of questions if you're not understanding something or you want to dive deeper into it. All right, so sorry, before we do that, I'm just going to quickly show you these pictures. And the question here is, what do all of these people have in common? What do all of these people have in common? I'll show you again. Can anyone answer that? What do all of these people have in common? Lots of people are saying smiles, their smiles. What else do they have in common? It's actually a pretty simple answer. The fact is that every single one of them is a human being with family, with emotions, with the same needs, right? Every single place I travel to, everybody wants peace for their children. Everybody wants a good education for their children. Everybody wants their children to be happy. So the big question about global citizenship is, why would we choose to judge everybody by their differences and not by what we have in common? These are really important things to be teaching our children right now. Teachers have the most phenomenal power and influence to change the world, right? To allow a better future for all of us. All right, let's come back to this idea of positive reality. All right, you can see that slide there. Can I just get a yes?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so one of the major problems in our world right now, right, is that many young people and many adults are actually facing overwhelm and negativity. And this is due to all of those things I was talking about earlier: COVID, climate change. One of the biggest harbingers of negativity is our media. Our media is constantly weighing our young people down with everything that is wrong with the world, all right? So positive reality is a methodology we can use in our classrooms to shift our students' attitudes from overwhelm, anger, angst, frustration, all of which create negative behaviors, and shift them to a place of hope and therefore to positive action. So I'll explain this. Let's take climate change as a good example, right? So for many, many young people, they feel in a state of helplessness, right? They are despairing, they become depressed. Now, when these things happen, they tend to arc up. I don't know if that's an Australian phrase, but they arc up with negative behaviors. So this could be drinking, it could be drugs, it could be all manner of, fighting, becoming physically violent. Or they do the opposite. They just throw their hands in the air and they say, I give up. The world is doomed. I give up. And they don't care enough anymore to really make any change. What we need to do is shift them to a place of hope whilst being in a place of reality. Is climate change real? Are the statistics real? Is what's happening in the world real? Yes, it is. However, There are so many positive solutions in this world, right? And we need to be flooding our students' minds with hope. So positive reality allows us to face up to the reality of the problem, yet always remain solution focused. So I can tell you, I have seen students so upset about the world, and when we start to shift them to hopeful solutions, all of a sudden they move from giving up to literally lightening their mood and actually wanting to take mindful action, right? It's quite extraordinary, and it is relatively easily done. So before we go, I'm going to give you a demonstration of this, but before I do that, are there any questions about this? Are there any questions before we move on? No? I'm going to give you a demonstration. So keep that phrase in your head, positive reality. The reality is, something not so good, something really tough. And we're going to shift their minds to becoming solution focused, not negative. All right, so let's give this a shot. Now, can I get you to play that first video for me? Whoops, hang on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, hang on. I think I'm going to have to take that off, aren't I? Hang on 2 seconds. Okay, so you're going to play the video for me? Yeah? Cool. Oh, sorry, can you just pause for 2 seconds? Can you just pause that? So before we show this video, this is a video about action that is needed in this world, right, around pollution. But I do want to ask you, where is the biggest garbage patch in the world? Does anyone know? Where is the biggest garbage patch in the world? Anyone know the answer to that? Aha, thank you, Gregory. Gregory's into this big time.
It's the Atlantic Ocean, if I'm not wrong. Atlantic or Indian Ocean.
Yeah. Well, you would think that the biggest garbage patch in the world should be in one of the biggest cities in the world, right? If Mumbai has a population of 25 million people or more, can you imagine the rubbish that is, produced every single day? Do you know that Mumbai has the entire population of Australia lives in one city in India, right? Imagine the rubbish. But the answer, you are right, is it's actually in the Pacific Ocean. Right? Now, that is extraordinary, and it is a very damning statement on human beings, because human beings are the only animals on earth that create garbage. So if you can play this video for us, that would be great. And I'm wanting to ask everybody, right? I want you to imagine you are a student. I want you to be watching this, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions afterwards about what you're seeing and what you're learning and what you're feeling. Okay, thanks.
I've been walking in the same way as I do, missing out the cracks in the pavement and tutting my heel and strutting my feet. Is there anything I can do for you, dear? Is there anyone I could call? No, and thank you, please, madame. I ain't lost, just wondering. Round my hometown, memories of friends. Round my hometown, ooh, the people I've made. How the wonders of my world. How the wonders of my world. How the wonders of this world. How the wonders now. I like it in the city when the air is so thick and opaque. I love it to see everybody in short skirts, shorts and shades. I like it in the city when two worlds collide. You get the people and the government, everybody taking different sides. Shows that we ain't gonna stand shit. Shows that we are united. Shows that we ain't gonna take.
Thank you. Thanks for showing that. We're just going to stop for half a minute and just let that video sit with us. Okay. So I asked you to imagine that you are one of your students or a young person that you know watching that video, but I honestly don't think you need to be a young person. You could be a person of any age for that video to have a deep impact on you, a deep, very, very deep effect on you. So can I ask you now, what were some of the facts? What were some of the things we were learning from that video? So you can unmute and tell me, or you can pop it in the chat. Just give me one or two facts. What were we learning? Yeah, thank you, Gregory. The images are dreadful, absolutely shocking, right? Who is creating this? It is only humans who are creating this. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, thank you, the effect of the pollution that we cause. So we have to take responsibility. Is it only one country that is doing this? No, it's actually not, right? So that rubbish comes from many, many countries. It's taken out by the ocean currents and it swirls and it becomes almost like islands of rubbish. And then you get what we were seeing, birds and animals eating it or swimming through it, becoming entangled in it. You would have seen the most horrific image of birds with plastic in their stomachs. Now, those particular birds live on the Faroes Island. That is thousands of miles away from human civilization. There are adult birds that pick up bits of plastic in the ocean, thinking they're food, and they bring them back and they feed them, right, to their chirping baby birds. And there are baby birds who are dying of plastic who have never left that island. Right? Now, Gregory, thank you. The magnitude of the pollution is huger than we think. Innocent animals suffering because of our waste. Thank you to people who are premier pollution effects. Oh, and the action starts from me stopping to stop littering first. Thank you, projector. That is exactly right. Change begins with me. But there's something really, really important happening in this video, not just about the facts. It's actually about what we're feeling. Now, the visuals, the pictures of the animals, they make us feel very, very sad, right? Some people, after watching this video, they say, I feel guilty, right? I feel responsible. I feel part of this problem. So what I want to ask you, I think, Amar, do you have a question? No. Do you want to unmute if you have a question? I've got in the chat, we are the change that the world needs, absolutely, and projector that this is painful. What I'm wanting to ask you is, do you have any idea what was actually causing you to feel sad and painful? Besides the visuals, besides the fact, there's something else in this video that causes us to feel that pain and sadness. Does anyone know what it is? It's really worth knowing as a teacher. It's the music, right? It's the music that is played and Adele who is singing. Now, music resonates with our cells, all right? Music can actually change the way we are feeling about something. Music can make us feel sad. Music can make us feel happy. It is really worth knowing this as a teacher and using music in your classrooms if you want to help shift the way people are thinking and feeling. All right, so I want to acknowledge that. Now, I used to think that showing a video like that would then make children change their behavior. I used to think that would make them stop littering or want to take action and go out and clean up, you know, the rivers or the creeks. But unfortunately, what tends to happen is when we go into that sadness, remember I was talking before about overwhelm, they go into a state of apathy. They feel for the animals, but they just can't think what to do about it. Quite often as teachers, we're actually, we think we're showing them the real problem, which we are, but we're leaving them in a state of depression, and depression does not lead to mindful action, right? So here's what we're going to do. Remember, we talked about positive reality. What you saw is reality, no doubt about it. But let's see, how do we shift them by showing all the good things that people are doing in this world to actually change the situation. Okay, can we go to the second video? And can you just show it but pause it? Okay, thank you. Can you just put it on pause? And
in September launches the...
There you go. Just hold it there for a minute. Thank you. So this picture of this young man, it says this young genius is set to launch the world's largest ocean cleanup. Does anybody know this young man's name? You can pop it in the chat if you know it. And I find this extraordinary, not just for you, but for me, for lots of people. Most people do not know who this young man is. So this is a young Dutch man who, when he was about 16 or 17 years old, used to go down to the ocean, and he was so distressed by what he saw, all the rubbish, the garbage, that he decided to do something about it. And he set about on an almost impossible task to clean up the ocean. Now, when he began, scientists actually laughed at him. And the thing is, he didn't give up. And he kept trying all these different ways of cleaning the ocean until a certain team of scientists started to gather around him and help him. Now, I'm not sure if you know that Gandhi saying, you know, first they will ignore you, then they will laugh at you, then they will fight you, and then you will win. And this is very much this young man's journey. Thank you. The vice principal's put Boyan Slat in there, and that is his name. Now, very few of us know this young man. So let's watch this video, and I want you to think, what is different about this video from the one we just showed? Okay, away you go. You can play this one.
In September launches the largest endeavor to help rid our oceans of 5 trillion pieces of plastic, led by the Dutch 24-year-old inventor Boyan Slat. Aged 16 when diving in Greece, Boyan saw more plastic than fish in the sea around him. And ever since, he has dedicated his life to the ocean cleanup. Ocean currents concentrate plastic in 5 areas in the world, also known as the world's ocean garbage patches. The ocean cleanup aims to rid our oceans of plastic, starting with the largest garbage patch located between Hawaii and California, estimated to contain 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic. Here, the ocean cleanup is deploying its first technological solution to this growing problem. The ocean cleanup system creates a coastline where there are none. This artificial coastline captures the plastic, after which the plastic gets taken out. The system consists of a 600-meter-long floater that sits at the surface of the water and a tapered 3-meter deep skirt attached below. The floater provides buoyancy to the system and prevents plastic from flowing over it, while the skirt stops debris from escaping underneath. As the impenetrable skirt creates a downward flow, marine life can safely pass beneath it. Here's how the system captures the plastic using only natural oceanic forces. Because of the wind and waves, the system moves faster than the plastic, allowing the plastic to be captured. Thanks to the U-shape of the skirt and the currents, the system naturally adapts in a U-shape. And it's free-floating. It automatically drifts to the areas with the highest plastic concentration. And it's fitted with solar-powered lights, anti-collision systems, cameras, sensors, and satellite antennas. The system actively communicates its position at all times and continuously gathers performance data. Periodically, a support vessel comes by to take out the concentrated plastic like a garbage truck of the ocean. The plastic is then transported to land, recycled, and made into durable products. It's absolutely vital to clean up the large debris as soon as possible. The total mass of the Pacific garbage patch is 80,000 tons.
And we see that about 92% of the plastic isn't microplastic, but is large. Those 8% of plastic that are already microplastics, they used to be large objects as well, but because of UV lights, it breaks down into these smaller and smaller pieces, becoming hard to clean up. Why it's so important that we are cleaning up this garbage patch.
Their models indicate that a full-scale system rollout could clean up 50% of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in 5 years. Combining the cleanup with source reduction on land paves the road towards a plastic-free ocean by 2050. Comment yes and share if you agree we must take better care of our planet. Follow the launch on September the 8th of the first deployment wave on the ocean cleanup.
Thank you. Can stop sharing that one. Okay. That is singularly remarkable. Boyan Slat was 16 when he began that journey. He's now 24 or 25. They have already launched, all right, this great ocean cleanup, and they keep trialing it. But they are saying they can clean up the ocean by 2050. So now what I want to ask you is, that's right, this is absolutely remarkable. What I want to ask you is, how are those two videos different? What is the effect, the impact of the first one and the impact of the second one? How did that second one make you feel? And I think we're picking this up from someone in the chat. Absolutely remarkable, indeed brilliant. And then lots of clapping. Look at the comments in the chat compared to the first one, which was painful. All right, this is so sad. This is heavy. So I'm coming back to this idea of positive reality. We do need to know the reality. We cannot turn our backs on climate change and pollution and pretend it doesn't exist to make us all feel better. But when we learn that there are people doing things like this, it shifts how we feel. And all of a sudden, we feel like we want to contribute to helping, right? So, yes, and the second one is inspirational and motivating, and the second one gives some solace. I love this. The first one's guilt, the second one painful. Don't get me wrong. You can show the first one to your students, right? Talk about it, all the problems, but don't leave them in a place of guilt. A little bit of guilt or a little bit of feeling sad for a little while, that's okay. But if we leave our students in a place of guilt, it has a negative effect, right? So we need to know these people are taking action, right? And I love this. He took an action rather than just feel it. That's exactly right. The first one, we felt something. The second one, we're watching somebody actually doing something about it. Now, wouldn't you love if on the TV, on the news every night, they were showing that young man and his team and showing how much plastic they had removed from the ocean? Wouldn't that be more sensible than all the horror stories that we keep getting thrown at us? Now, somebody back there has asked, can we share the links? So are you able to share, Nishita, are you able to share the links maybe now or later on? Because yes, I'd love you to be showing this, sharing these with your students. Are there any questions about this? I think we've probably got time for one more exercise. Maybe we may not get through everything this time, but I'm always very happy to come back and keep sharing another time. Are there any questions about this? It's a very, very simple methodology. There's the reality, but never leave your students in a place of pain or feeling overwhelmed, feeling negative, right? Shift them to a place of hope. Thank you. Can anyone think of how you might do that besides these two videos? What are other ways we can help our young people feel more hopeful about the world? Any other ideas? And in any other situations, not just, oh yeah, take them for beach cleanups, absolutely. One of the biggest things, I'm not sure in India, I'm pretty sure it's the same as here in Australia, our students are on their phones all the time. Social media, right? Social media is so important to them. And again, they often hear a lot of negativity through social media. I had a group of students here in Australia who once told me at the height of Islamophobia, right, where there was a lot of negativity against Muslims, right? It has shifted now. This was a few years ago. I had a group of students who said, we should be posting really positive pictures of Muslims on social media. And I thought that is a really great example of shifting people's mindset. Okay, share stories of the past. Thanks, Gregory. Share stories of now. I can't believe there are so many wonderful things that people are doing. They're making roads out of solar panels. Right? They're doing extraordinary things. I don't know if you've heard, they've made these solar panels now that don't collect. You've got solar panels that collect energy from the sun, and then they've got these ones, they've reversed them. So at nighttime, as the heat leaves the earth, they're collecting the energy that way. People are doing extraordinary things in this world, right, to help us all have a positive future, but we're not hearing about them enough. And I think as a teacher, that is something you can bring into your classrooms. Okay, there's a couple of things here. Accept the reality. It frees up our energy to begin processing feelings and information that's crucial to mental health. Mental health, big issue right now. We can ask students to share what they can do. Thank you very much. Empower them to bring change in their environment. The children have brilliant ideas. You are absolutely right. And to start the change right from them. That is a really, really good assessment. One of the reasons I love showing that film clip about Boyan Slat is because he was 16 when he began his journey. So in other words, he was their age, right? He wasn't, somebody they're looking at David Attenborough or somebody who seems unreachable to them. He actually is their age. I love your answers coming in here. Let's try one more activity. Now, this one's going to require you to answer questions again. Let me see if I can screen share again. So let me see. Here. This is a really, really interesting question, and you can actually ask your students this same question. So I talked earlier on about, a lot of negativity in the world. I'm sure we're all very aware that there are countries, there are politicians who use fear to control. It's a very effective form of control, but unfortunately, it tends to create very negative behaviors. So I'm going to ask you right now this question, and I want you to just choose one of these scenarios. Why should we never use fear to control your family or your school or your country? So just choose one, and just for 1 minute, I want you to delve really, really deep into that question. Why should we never use fear to control your family, your school, or your country? And when you think you have an answer, ask yourself again, and why? And why else? And why else? See if you can come up with 4 or 5 answers to that question. Okay, we don't have a lot of time left together, I think. So here we go. I would love to hear from you. Again, either just unmute and you can share or pop it in the chat. Why should you never use fear to control either your family, your school, or your country? And Gregory's got, we need to think beyond the 4 walls of our house and think bigger. That is absolutely right. Change should be from within, not because of force or fear. Beautiful, Rainey. Thank you. This is so true. When you control through fear, the response you might get, you might think you're getting the response you want, but it's short-lived. Where if we learn in different ways and we are working together on something, the effect is long-lasting. Thank you, Rainey. That's really good. Oh, yes, absolutely. Fear will end up with rebellion. Absolutely. In the end, fear pushes people away from you, right? And in the end, they'll either walk away and leave forever, or they'll come back and fight you, right, in return. Fear doesn't work every time. That's right. Fear, oh, I love this, Ruchika. Fear limits the imagination and ends motivation. I really want you to think about that in your schools and in your classrooms. Fear limits the imagination and ends motivation. Wow. Wow, that's really capturing exactly right. Projector. If we have to control all of these using fear, we never get respect or work in teams in unity to bring change. Now, partly why I'm asking this question, right? Again, we said we're focusing on the effects of positivity, of hope and optimism. So if we look at the effect that fear has, if we control our family through fear, we're raising children who will repeat that behavior. At some point, some of those children step into leadership roles. At some point, somebody will become the prime minister or the president or the leader of a country. So it really is, it seriously is beholden on us as teachers to really, really deeply look at the way we teach and relate to our students, because we are actually raising the leaders of tomorrow. All right. That fear should be positive. That would help discipline. Well, yeah. Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. But there are many, many more positive ways, isn't there, to relate to your students. All right. I don't think we're not going to have time to do our lucky last activity. I'm just wondering now if there's any questions that anybody has for me before we wrap up. Are we finishing in 6 minutes? Is that right? All right. Actually, maybe we do. Yes. Well, I'll very, very quickly do this. So I want you all to think, right? Here's a really great thing to do with your students. Okay. So the question is, I'm going to, try and share my screen again very quickly as we wrap up. Try this for yourself, but you can try this with your students. Well, there's Gandhi telling us the enemy is fear. We think it is hate, but it is fear. Okay, so if we have a super quick look at how our students think and learn, right? They learn and think in different ways. They have preferred learning styles. So I'm going to ask you, right, these 3 questions. What are you good at? What do you love doing? Right? So you can see that somebody there might say, I'm body smart, I'm very good at sport. Somebody else might say, I'm reasoning smart, I'm really good at winning a debate. Somebody else might say, I'm nature smart, I love being out in nature. Right? Somebody else is word smart and can write amazing speeches and letters. Somebody else is music smart. Somebody else gets on extremely well with people. So here's this question before we wrap up today, right? And you can ask this of yourself and you can ask this of your students. What am I good at? What do I love doing? And then what does the world need me to do right now? I wonder if any of you have an answer to that question. What does the world need me to do right now? Who's got an answer in the chat? Anybody got an answer for me? What does the world need me to do right now? Oh, thank you, spreading happiness. That's beautiful. That is one of the best things you can do. And smiling. Yeah, boy, that makes a difference to the world around you, to your family, to your kids, to the school. Anybody else? What does the world need me to do right now? Be in the moment and do everything good that you can. So now create stress-free environments for yourself, right? The more you can do that for yourself, the more you pass that on to other people. Oh, these are beautiful. Be the reason for others' happiness. Being aware of our actions. These are really, really beautiful. I think we're going to wrap up there. We've got so much we could share. I'm very, very happy if anyone wants to unmute and ask me any questions at all. Even what's it like in Australia right now? The world needs me to become a global citizen. Thank you, Seema. Because if you take that on board, you will take that out to your students. No doubt about it. Well done. Return to normal life. The pandemic is over. On that note, with the pandemic, with shifts in the pandemic, people are traveling now. And I am seriously hoping in December to return to India, to return to Asia Plateau, up near Pune, near Panchgani. And I'm hoping that I might see some of you there in December. So thank you. I'll wrap up there.
So, Miss Margaret, thank you so much for a wonderful session. It was, for me, the take was global issues should be discussed along with the solution which bring the positivity with children. So let me say this is one of the most terrific talks we have attended. To keep the motivation on the notes which you have shared, will there be on our desk so daily we have a glance of the same and help us to keep the momentum on.
Beautiful.
And I would like to conclude this session with a beautiful quote. Education creates self-confidence, self-confidence creates hope, and hope creates peace and happiness. A simple but powerful reminder of the positive domino effect a good education can have on many aspects of a person's life and outlook. So as a token of gratitude to Miss Margaret, I would ask Miss Nishita to play a short clip.
I love it. I love it. And look, you can see how the music, just the music makes us all feel so happy. I would love to come and visit your school.
So yeah, that was quick and Nishita is great in doing that. So this brings the end to today's 99th Aadharshila talk. On behalf of the entire RRIS fraternity, I would like to thank Ms. Margaret to inspire all of us with her words full of wisdoms. And we should not forget our beloved principal, who is currently in an education tour to Japan. Though she is not here, but her presence can be felt in the form of her work.